Welcome to the stream, starting a bit earlier than expected today. Was planning on starting 12, but managed to start this stream a bit earlier. So it's 2 hours and 1 minute until the deadline. I've actually made my transfer ahead of game week 10 already. Alexander van de Ven to Gabriel or Estev to Calafiori. I think at this point, considering the fixtures for Spurs, especially if you have, let's turn this off, especially if you have some attacking players from Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, not Spurs of course, but Spurs, they are playing against those teams. So I think that if you have attacking players from those teams, it makes sense to sell Van de Ven, even though of course he did really well in game week 9, but I've sold Pedro Porro this game week. One of the reasons is because he will play against my midfielders and forwards in the upcoming game week. So Pedro Porro to Munoz. I did this yesterday on the Q&A, and I think that selling Van de Ven to bring in Gabriel, I think this is a really good move, to be honest. So even though Van de Ven did really well in game week 9, I think selling him this game week, it's a yes from me. If you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture under my latest post. Let's see. Use this post, the game week 10 deadline stream, post a picture of your team selection, and let's discuss it. As mentioned, I have made one transfer so far. I'm actually a bit tempted to take a hit in game week 10. I haven't really decided, to be honest. João Pedro to Mateta. It kind of makes so much sense. Mateta, 90 minutes man on penalties, really good fixtures going forward. João Pedro, he hasn't really delivered expected goal involvement of 0.33, while Mateta has 5.45, something like that. So a huge gap between Mateta and João Pedro at the moment, but the fixtures are so good for Chelsea in game week 11 and game week 12. This is one of the reasons why I haven't done this move already. So João Pedro to Mateta might still happen, but at the moment I'm actually leaning towards just playing this team. I have Sanchez in goal playing against Spurs. This is the reason why Kudus is on my bench. I have De Ligt and Mbumo playing against Forest. Hopefully Man United can do well in this fixture. I have Munoz and Sarr playing at home against Brentford. Timber and Gyökeres playing away against Burnley. This is probably, of course, it would have been a bit better if he was at home, but I think this is one of the best fixtures at the moment. So Arsenal, hopefully Gyökeres can do something in game week 10. I have NGI, really excited. He will play on Monday night against Sunderland. I have Paqueta. I have been close to benching Paqueta this game week to play Kudus, but I don't have any Newcastle defenders. So this is the reason why I'm leaning towards benching Kudus to avoid him playing against Sanchez. Up front, still João Pedro, he is in, and Haaland and Gyökeres. Hopefully my captain Erling Haaland can deliver this game week. It was a bit frustrating in game week 9. I went for the Haaland captaincy. I was really close to going for Mbumo. So This could have been a huge swing. And boom, we actually picked up 15 points in game week 9. So that would have been great. Joe Pedro, he's sold by 1.5 million FPL managers ahead of game week 10. I think this is the second most transfers out the player has had so far this season. I remember that when Everton played against Man City, when Grealish couldn't play, I think that he reached like 1.8 million transfers out, something like that. But Joe Pedro, he will actually come pretty close before the deadline. Joshua, good morning. Thanks for joining in, Joshua. How are you? Who would you start if you can only start one Semenyo, King, or Virgil van Dijk? Semenyo, Josh King, or Van Dijk? I think Semenyo, of course, he is in really good form, but playing against Man City, this will be a tough fixture for Bournemouth. Josh King scored midweek for Fulham. He will start for them in the number 10 position. Fulham against Wolves. I would actually be really tempted to go for the differential and start Josh King in game week 10. So Van Dijk on the bench, Semenyo on the bench. Take a punt, start Josh King. The fixture can't be much better for Fulham either. They play at home against Wolves. They have terrible defensive stats. Will this be the game where Josh King finally delivers some FPL returns? As mentioned, scored midweek. I know that it feels wrong benching your most expensive players, playing the cheaper ones, but considering the fixtures, I think it makes sense to play Josh King in game week 10. It's a big differential as well, so hopefully, if you go for Josh King, hopefully this will work out. So there will be a lot of games starting at 3 this Saturday. I'm really looking forward to some of those games. Burnley, Arsenal, it will be really exciting. I feel like Gyökeres, even though his ownership is, let's have a look. I haven't really checked his ownership. It's around 20%. Gyökeres owned by 21.5% of the managers. So even though he's owned by over 20% of the managers, I feel like Gyökeres is kind of a differential. I think that a lot of dead teams have Gyökeres in, brought him in because of his record from Portugal. But I think that a lot of the active FPL managers have lost patience with Gyökeres. So feels like he is a good differential to own in the Burnley against Arsenal game. I will have a double up on Crystal Palace against Brentford. I think this is really promising. I brought Munoz in, sold Pedro Porro, so hopefully he can keep a clean sheet. And of course, Munoz, he can deliver attacking returns as well. I have a double up in the Nottingham Forest Man United game as well. Big differential. De Ligt only selected by 2%. Hopefully he can do something, at least keep a clean sheet, maybe contribute with attacking returns. He's actually one of the defenders with the best expected goal involvement, so hopefully this will be the game week where De Ligt delivers an attacking return. So 2 players in the Forest Manu game, 2 players in the Palace Brentford game, 2 players in the Burnley Arsenal game. I will have Joao Pedro in the Spurs Chelsea fixture, and in the latest fixture this evening, Liverpool against Aston Villa, I will actually have no involved players in this game. I do have to shoot after uni. However, thanks for the stream and good luck this game week. Thanks for joining in and have a lovely weekend, and best of luck when it comes to, of course, the Josh King punts if you go for it. And best of luck with your other FPL players as well. What about Esteve and Reinders to Gabriel and Longstaff? I think as long as you're not going to play Longstaff week in, week out, this could probably work. Esteve, of course, playing for Burnley, the worst defense in the league. They have kept 2 clean sheets this season, but I don't really see Burnley doing this on a regular basis. So Esteve out to bring in Gabriel. Of course, a huge upgrade. Selling a player from one of the worst defenses to bring in a player from the best defense, and he's one of the most attacking defenders as well. So Esteve to Gabriel, yes. Reinders, he hasn't really delivered since game week 1, so selling Reinders is a really good idea, but Longstaff, not a good FPL asset. So if you're going to play Longstaff week in, week out, it's a no, but if you can bench Longstaff most weeks, I think this is a good idea. Longstaff, can you get Josh King from Fulham? I think he is the best fodder at the moment. I actually advise Joshua to start Josh King over the likes of Virgil van Dijk this game week. So Esteve, Reinders to Gabriel, Josh King. Is this doable? So I got this tip from a more experienced streamer. He told me that sometimes it's really advisable to actually write the answers as well. So I'm trying to do this as often as I remember. So this is why I don't always do this, but sometimes, of course, when there's more people online and joining the stream, it's really hard to keeping track with all the comments. But yeah, this is why I'm first answering the question and then writing the same answer right afterwards. Okay. I think I'm going to bench him every week because I don't need him. King is a good shout. I already have Saliba. That would change your mind. I think that having two defenders from Arsenal is perfectly fine. So if you're going to bench Longstaff most weeks, I think just keeping Van de Ven. You can have Van de Ven on your bench for those tough fixtures and try to avoid having Van de Ven playing against your midfielders and forwards. So my advice would be to, instead of going Longstaff, just go Josh King straight away. I think that he is at least equal to Longstaff when it comes to their FPL potential, and you will save 0.4 as well. So yeah, Esteve and Reinders to Gabriel and Longstaff. I was really close to bring in Gabriel myself this game week. I had Pedro Porro and 1 million in the bank, so I had the exact funds to bring in Gabriel. Hopefully I will not regret this decision. I did Pedro Porro to Munoz instead, so I have 0.8 in the bank. I don't have any free transfers at the moment. I'm kind of tempted to sell Joao Pedro to bring in Mateta, but I think I'll probably just stick with Joao Pedro a couple of more game weeks. Of course, not the best fixture in game week 10 playing against Spurs. They have kept a couple of clean sheets this season already, but I think that Chelsea will do well against Spurs in game week 10. So hopefully Joao Pedro can deliver. Matt, who do you reckon I don't play? Reinders, NGI, Semenyo, Strand Larsen. Probably Reinders. So NGI, he is on penalties. Semenyo is on penalties. Strand Larsen is on penalties. I think this makes this question a bit easier. So Reinders, of course, he plays for the best team. He has the home advantage against Bournemouth, but to be honest, those other guys are better FPL options. So I think that actually NGI, Semenyo, Strand Larsen should start in game week 10. I think that, as Alexander has been talking about, he is actually most probably going to sell Reinders this game week, downgrade Reinders to a 4.5 to upgrade in defense. I think that Reinders is not really a good FPL option at the moment, so he would be the player I would bench in game week 10. So Holland, once again, he is the bookie's favorite for any time goal scorer. The fixture at home against Bournemouth is actually a bit better than what I thought. I will show you some stats on the screen in a couple of minutes. But Bournemouth, I think they are a bit overrated, especially their defense. So Erling Haaland in game week 10, 56% chance of a goal. Gyökeres, he is second, 45%, and Alexander Isak, he is actually third. It's a long time since Alexander Isak has been included in this list, but he equals Gyökeres with 45%, and those percentages, they are not my predictions. They are actually taken from the bookies. So Erling Haaland favorite, Gyökeres and Alexander Isak number 2 and 3. Let's see. Alexander Van de Ven to Gabriel is option 1. Option 2, Estev to Calafiori. And option number 3, Estev and Reinders to Gabriel and King. I think option 3 makes sense. It will make you have more of your funds in your actual starting 11 as well. You will take some funds off your bench and into your starting 11. So I really like option 3, to be honest. Estev, Reinders to Gabriel and King. Gabriel, he can play every game week for a team, even though if Arsenal have a bit tougher fixtures, Gabriel, he can deliver attacking returns against anyone. So option 3 would be my preferred option. Caleb, thanks for joining in, Caleb. How are you? Are you ready for game week 10? It's still some time left, 1 hour, 39 minutes. I think I'm really close to being locked in this game week. My only decision to make is if I'm going to take the hit João Pedro to Mateta. But at the moment, I'm feeling confident in this team, really hoping that João Pedro can do something. I benched my Spurs defender. I sold my other Spurs defender, so Pedro Porro to Munoz. I did this transfer last night. On my bench, I have Kudus as well in the same fixture. One of the reasons why Kudus is on my bench is the fact that I have Sanchez in goal, so I don't really want Kudus to play against Sanchez. So this is why I'm playing Paqueta instead. As I can't hear you, my computer broken. Can you message back who would you start, King or Shaloba? And this was actually one of the reasons I talked about 5 minutes ago. I got a tip from a more experienced live streamer, and he said that sometimes when you find the time, try to write down your answers as well. And this was actually one of the reasons. There can potentially be someone watching the stream without sound. So Caleb, no sound on his computer, but ask the question, who would you start, Josh King or Shaloba? I think that having a Chelsea defense is okay this game week, but I wouldn't play Shaloba ahead of Josh King in game week 10. Really good fixture for Fulham playing at home against Wolves, so I would definitely start Josh King. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture of your team selection under my latest post. I'll update this to see if there are any teams. No teams yet, but if you're interested, it's this one, the Game Week 10 deadline stream. Jump into the comments and post a picture. What do you think about Krupi Jr.? I think that he actually is a decent option. I know that he has been playing a lot because of an injury to Evan Nilsson, but he's probably the best enabler at the moment, but I wouldn't necessarily start Krupi Jr. week in, week out. I really like the goal he took in game week 9. Great finish from Krupi Jr. The things that I don't really see him being nailed on once all of the Bournemouth players are fit, but Krupi Jr. a really good option, especially if he's in some kind of rotation or if you're just going to keep him on your bench like Alexander, like you said, with Josh King, potentially Longstaff. So if he's not going to start, I think he's decent. But my advice would be, especially if you're going to have this player last on your bench week in, week out, I would probably go for Obi, the Man United forward. He's only priced at 4.3 at this point. He will not get many minutes, but at least this makes you have 14 strong players. You can afford to have a fodder, in my opinion, especially if you already have played your bench boost. I think it makes sense to just go for a 4.3 option. So in the captain poll, who do you think is the best captain option for game week 10? Erling Haaland is the favorite, 58% for Erling Haaland at the moment. Saka 15%, Mbumo, Bruno Fernandes 8%, while others 5%. So Haaland is the most popular option. He will most definitely be the most captain player in game week 10 as well. I know he blanked in game week 9, but he will be the most captain player, and his effective ownership will probably be quite high in game week 10 as well. I promised to show you some stats from Bournemouth. So I post weekly team selection videos, and what I do is to take a look at the most interesting captain options and research their opponent's defensive stats. And this is, let's get this back on. This is the Bournemouth defensive stats from the last 4 game weeks. They have kept 1 clean sheet, but they have conceded 6 goals and 11 big chances. As we can see, this is mid-table. So there have been a lot of talk about the solid Bournemouth defense, but the statistics, they are showing another story. On shots on target conceded, especially, they're 18th with 22 shots on target conceded in the last 4 game weeks, and they have an expected goal of 7.51. So they have actually been a bit lucky, only conceding 6 goals. And this is one of the reasons why Erling Haaland most probably will be my captain this game week. I'm a bit tempted by Mbumo as well. I said this ahead of game week 9 as well. I kind of regret, of course, not going Mbumo in game week 9, but I can't really see Erling Haaland blanking back to back. So David Freisel, what is your rank at the moment? My rank, I think it's 3.8, something like that. I've had a lot of green arrows recently. I started this season horrible. I was ranked 9.5 after game week 1. I actually only got one attacking return in game week 1. Was a bit better in game week 2, green arrow, and I played my wildcard in game week 3. A couple of failed punts. I had the likes of Kansa with the red card, really unlucky. I had Saka, Cole Palmer with the injuries. So a tough start to the season. Pick one, please. Mateta and Mbumo, Joe Pedro and Bruno, Thiago and Sar, Pedro, Randers, Mateta, stuff. I would most probably go Mateta and Mbumo. I think that Mateta is a really good option at the moment. I'm actually a bit tempted by taking a hit this game week to sell Joe Pedro and bring in Mateta. One of the reasons why I haven't done this already is the fact that Chelsea have really good fixtures in game week 11 and game week 12. And I think that Joao Pedro, I know his attacking stats, he hasn't really taken that many shots recently, but he will continue starting for Chelsea. So I think I might just keep Joao Pedro. So Mateta on penalties, 90 minutes man, good fixtures for Crystal Palace together with Mbumo. Really good form, Mbumo. He has delivered in both game week 8, game week 9, so having both Mateta and Mbumo would be my preferred option. I'm starting Pope, Gabriel, Timber, Burn, King, Semenyo, Enzo Fernandez, Faultmother, Haaland. And the bench is Senesi, Shaloba, and Anthony. How does my team look? And anyone else I should consider captaining? I think this team looks really strong. Double up on Newcastle. I think they will do well going forward. You have Gabriel, you have Timber, double up on the Arsenal defense. King, as mentioned, we talked about him. Really good fixture playing at home against Wolves. Semenyo is in. You have Enzo Fernandez, the penalty taker, first choice penalty taker for Chelsea, with Cole Palmer out, and up front Faultmother and Erling Haaland. Not really sure who your last forward is. You written down Faultmother twice, and you have a midfielder benched in Burnley's Anthony, Shaloba, Senesi, Anthony. Mateta is in, but what week do you suggest I bring in Mbumo, and for who? Sorry, Mateta is in this week. I only gave you 10 players starting. Yeah, you gave Faultmother twice. Should have figured this was Mateta. So let's see. Mateta is in. What week do you suggest I bring in Mbumo, and for who? I actually discussed this yesterday as well on my Q&A. I always have a Q&A the night before the deadline as well, so if you're interested, check those out going forward. But I think that if you really want to bring in Mbumo, because Man United, they are actually the team with the best attacking fixtures, and they have done well recently. They're 5th in the league. They're above Liverpool on Premier League table at the moment. So I think that Man United, they are actually a team that we can start selecting FPL players from at the moment. And Mbumo, of course, really attacking asset on some set pieces as well, corners, free kicks. Bruno Fernandes is probably the first choice penalty taker still, even though he has actually missed a couple of penalties. But Mbumo, I think that if you're going to bring in Mbumo, I think it's kind of a good week this game week, to be honest. So Semenyo, really tough fixture playing against Man City. They play against Aston Villa away in game week 11 as well. So I would be tempted to take a punt on selling Semenyo to bring in Mbumo. Of course, if you if you got Semenyo really early, it's probably better to just keep him. But at least if you have brought Semenyo in after his price reached, let's say, 7.98 million, I think he can be sold to bring in Mbumo for the next couple of fixtures. And if you want to just keep Semenyo in your team, not many options. I can't really see an easy way to get Mbumo into this team without selling Semenyo. It kind of depends how much you got in the bank, but of course Anthony. But there is a big price cap between Anthony and Mbumo, but probably something like I'd keep Mateta, Haaland, Foltmother, really good options. Enzo Fernandez as well. Josh King, he's only priced at 4.5, so not much to play with. My only easy solution for you to get Mbumo in is actually to let go of Semenyo. If you brought Semenyo in early, like priced at from 7 to 7.7 probably, I would just keep Semenyo because of the value you're going to lose if you want him back in game week 13. So no easy way to get Mbumo, but let's see what happens this weekend. We might get some injuries, maybe someone like Mateta, Foltmother, even Erling Haaland. Maybe Semenyo picks up an injury and the decision will be really easy ahead of game week 11. Thanks for the help. I'm going to take a nap before the games. Hopefully you'll get a nice nap ahead of the games. I'm really looking forward to the games. Would have been nice with a nap, but I'm kind of enjoying doing those streams as well. So best of luck in game week 10. And thanks for joining in. Rupert, one to bench among Reinders, Van de Ven and Anderson. I think it's between Reinders and Van de Ven, to be honest. Let's see. I'll just take this down and bring this back up. One to bench among Reinders and Van de Ven. So, of course, Reinders playing at home against Bournemouth. This is actually a decent fixture for Man City, but I don't really see Reinders as a good FPL asset at the moment. I think it kind of depends if you have any attacking Chelsea assets. I would play Reinders. So if you have one of Enzo or João Pedro, I would bench Van de Ven. But if you don't have any attacking Chelsea assets, I would actually play Van de Ven. Just quickly, when would you play your free hit? So if you still have your free hit intact, I think it makes sense to hold your free hit for a couple of more game weeks. There might actually be a double game week in game week 16. Crystal Palace, they advanced in the EFL Cup and they will play against Arsenal in the EFL Cup. They don't really have a time for this fixture, so it looks like a Premier League fixture will be moved to make room for the EFL Cup to be played at the same time. So there will be 4 games at the same time in the quarterfinal, of course. So it's actually likely that the game week 17 fixtures will that there will be a couple of postponements. So I would hold my free hit. I think we will know ahead of game week, at least game week 13, if there will be a double game week or not. So if we will not have any double game weeks, I think game week 15 looks like a really good game week for the free hit. There are a lot of the best teams with the best FPL assets having really good fixtures in game week 15. So this would be my advice considering the free hit. So wait until we get more information about the potential double game week, and if we don't get a double game week 15 is a good alternative. I don't have any Chelsea assets. If you don't have any Chelsea assets, I would actually take a punt and play Van de Ven. Playable NGI Tusar. I think this depends on how many transfers you have at the moment. If you have like 4 or 5 free transfers, then yeah, go for it. If you only have 1 or 2 free transfers, I would just play NGI. I think it's a small upgrade. I would like to have Sar. He's really in form, but he's not on any set pieces for Crystal Palace. Mateta taking their penalties. 1 free transfer. If you only have 1 free transfer, I think I'd just keep NGI. He has actually looked really, really good, especially in game week 8 against Man City. He was decent in game week 9 as well. I watched those 2 Everton games. He can pick up defensive contributions. He is the first choice penalty taker for Everton. And an extra bonus, you will have a player involved in the Monday night fixture against Sunderland. So with only 1 free transfer, it's a no from me. At least that would be my advice. Oh, I have to bench either Michele or NGI. Playing against each other. I would probably bench Michele, start NGI, save the transfer. Hope for Everton goals in the Monday night fixture. Mbumo, 1.5 million transfers in this game week. Second most transferred in ahead of a game week so far this season. Jack Grealish, he has the record. He was transferred in, I think it was 1.8. Jack Grealish, he also has the record for most transfers out ahead of Everton, Man City when he was eligible to play. So Mbumo, 1.5 million transfers in. The most sold player is João Pedro. He's still in my team at the moment, playing against Spurs. I don't have any Spurs players in my starting 11. I benched actually Van de Ven in game week 9. A bit embarrassing, 23 points on the bench. I had Rolon as well. So in total, 40 points on my bench in game week 9. Let's have a look at this bench disaster. So 48 points in total. So a small green arrow for me in game week 9. But have a look at this. Van de Ven, Rodon, 36 points between them, and Sar Dubravka with 4 points together makes this 40 points. I was really disappointed by my forwards in game week 9. All of them blanking: Joe Pedro, Haaland, and Gyökeres, and of course Haaland was my captain. So I did earlier this week Joe Pedro to Fault Mother before the price change. Yeah. I think that a lot of FPL managers did moves early on in this game week. There have been a lot of transfer activity ahead of game week 10. Joe Pedro, as mentioned, one of the most sold players ahead of a game week so far this season. So Pedro out, of course. A lot of managers are losing patience. I have actually lost count how many game weeks has he actually blanked in a row. I think it's up to like six game weeks in a row, something like that. Don't really have good attacking stats either, so it definitely makes sense to sell Joao Pedro. The only reason I haven't sold him already is the fact that I have a strong feeling that he will come good, and the fixtures can't get much better for Chelsea in game week 11 and game week 12. So I'm leaning towards just keeping Joao Pedro, but I have to admit I have been really tempted by Joao Pedro to Mateta ahead of this game week. So it's 1 hour and 50 minutes until the deadline. If you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture of your team selection under my game week 10 deadline stream posts. It's this one. I'll refresh this. Let's have a look. So we got a team. This was posted under my team selection post. I know this is a bit tricky, but if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture of your latest team selection under my game week 10 deadline stream post. But this is Alexander's team. We discussed this team and some transfers in the chat already. A really strong team in my opinion. Pope, good fixture. Let's see what. So with this team, I would go for something like Senesi, Estev, Reinders on the bench. Probably. So let's get this back on. Playbill wildcard game week 4 really put me back on track from 10 million. Now I'm 200k. Oh, wow, that's really, wow, that's so huge. From game week 4 to game week 10. 10 million to 200k. Wow. That's great. I thought that I had been doing a great turnover by going from 9.5 to 3.9, but of course from 10 million to 200k, that's quite an achievement. So hopefully this can continue, of course. Looks like you are on top of things. Selling Joe Pedro to bring in Fault Mother. I think this is a really good transfer. I talked about Fault Mother in my team selection video in the updated watch list. I think that Fault Mother is a really good option. My preferred option would be Mateta, but if you for some reason don't want Mateta, if you already have him, if you triple up on Crystal Palace already, Fault Mother would definitely be second in line for my forward replacement. So really good option. I think that the fixture is really good for Newcastle as well, playing against West Ham. They have struggled against teams on set pieces, and I think that both Dan Burn and Fault Mother are really good options in game week 10. So if I were to play my free hit, I made a video with the best, in my opinion, the best wildcard and free hit team as well, and having both Dan Burn and Fault Mother, I think they are really good options against West Ham. So let's see if there are any rumors or news about the 15 games. Let's see. Let's start by taking a look at Playbell's team. Let's get this up on the screen. Make this a bit smaller like this. So this is Playbell's team posted over on X. If you're interested in having your team reviewed, just head over to X, post a picture of your team selection under my latest post. Raya, Dubravka. So easy decision this game week to start Raya and Dubravka on the bench. In defense, Richards, Timber and Gabriel, Michele and Senesi. We discussed this. I think Michele, for me at least, this decision would have been quite easy. I would have had Michele on my bench, and together with Senesi, I would start Mbumo, Bruno Fernandes, NGI, and Semenyo. Fault Mother, Haaland, Mateta up front. I think I would have had Josh King first on my bench, Michele second, and Senesi last on my bench. Really, really strong team. I really like this team, to be honest. I triple up on the Arsenal defense. I benched Michele, Senesi and King. Yeah, I agree with those decisions. I think, as mentioned, I would have had King first on my bench, starting as the number 10 for Fulham. Really good fixture at home against Wolves. So yeah. FP Lisa, hi. Oops. Let's see. Thanks for joining in. How are you this morning, and are you ready for game week 10? It's 1 hour and 6 minutes until the deadline. My team is close to being locked in, to be honest. I made a transfer last night. I sold Pedro Porro to bring in Munoz. The team on the screen is actually not my team, it's Playbell's team. A really strong team in my opinion, with Josh King, Mukiele and Senesi on the bench, and of course together with Dubravka. So this is my team. I feel confident ahead of game week 10, to be honest. Double up on Man United, double up on Crystal Palace, double up on Arsenal, and a double up on Chelsea. And I have Paqueta, and I have Haaland and NGI as well. Both my Spurs players are benched, so hopefully Chelsea can dig out a good result against Spurs this weekend. Bench boost for 18 points in game week 5. Triple captain Haaland for 48 points in game week 6. Yeah, I triple captain Haaland this game week as well. My bench boost only got, I think it was, let's see, 14 points. I had Dubravka with 9. I had NGI in the great fixture against Man City. He picked up defensive contribution points, so 4 points from NGI. And I think that in game week 8, I can't really remember, but one of Pedro Porro or Van de Ven actually got 0 points, while the other one got only 1 point. So should of course have saved my bench boost, as my bench actually got 40 points in game week 9. The thing is that I have been a bit unlucky. I have had a couple of 50-50 decisions, like in game week 9. I was really considering giving the captain's armband to Mbumo, but I went for Erling Haaland. Haaland, he blanked. Mbumo scored 15 points. I was a bit unsure if I were going to play my bench boost in game week 8 or game week 9. I went for game week 8, 14 points. If I waited until game week 9, I would have had 40 points on my bench. Game week 9, I got 109 points. What? Who was your captain in game week 9? I haven't really seen that many huge game week 9 scores, to be honest. I think game week 9 was a good game week to have a bad game week, but 109, that must have been a huge green arrow. I got 48 points, and this actually secured a green arrow for me. Not a big one. The average in game week 9, I think it was 46 points. Almost tripling the game week average. 109. Please show me your team ID and I can get your team up on the screen. It's not that I don't trust you, but 109 points in game week 9. I would like to see this team, to be honest. You had the likes of Mukiele, 17 points. You actually had him in your starting 11 as well. Nice. I've seen a lot of Mukiele points on the bench. Mateta, 17 points, of course. But this was game week 8, right? think this must have been game week 8. So yeah, I saw a lot of decent scores in game week 8. Saw a few FPL managers joining the 100 club in game week 8, but seeing that you posted a team on your post, seeing that you had 17 points from Mateta, he actually blanked in game week 9, so the hat trick was in game week 8, and this makes a bit more sense. Posted a team on your post. Let's go have a look. So this is the one. Let's see. So clean sheets from the Arsenal triple up. This really paid off in game week 8. Raya, Timber, 12 points from them, and of course Gabriel, he picked up an assist, didn't he? 12 points for Gabriel. Mukiele, 17 points. Senesi, the only player who blanked was only players who blanked, Joao Pedro and Senesi. Semeno, 4 points. Bruno Fernandes, 8. Mbumo, 9. The captaincy, Erling Haaland, he scored a brace that game week, and Mateta, 17 points. Wrong game week 8, sorry, my mistake. No worries, actually figured because of the Mateta 17 points, I remember him scoring a hat trick, but 109 points, a really, really good game week. I can't really remember how much I got in game week 8. Let's have a quick look. $109 points from Greenbell in Playbell in game week 8. So game week 8 for me. $71 with bench boosts. Gave me a green arrow, but I wasn't really that. Yeah, a green arrow is a green arrow. I wasn't really satisfied after game week 8 and my bench boost, to be honest. Let's just scroll down a bit so we can see my bench boost score as well. I talked about this 5 minutes ago. Dubravka and Jai Van de Ven, 0 points. Fabian Schär, he did not play in game week 8, so a bit frustrating. Pedro Porro, 1 point. Van de Ven, 0. If I waited one more game week with my bench boost, I would have had 40 points on my bench. Khalid, what do you think of people captaining Gabriel? I think that captaining defenders, of course, there's always a risk involved, but I think Gabriel actually is a decent captain punt in game week 10, to be honest, because they play against one of the worst teams in Burnley. Another reason why I think Gabriel is a decent captain option is because even though if Arsenal concede early on in that fixture, you can still hope for attacking returns. So even if Arsenal don't keep a clean sheet, Gabriel, he can still pick up a double-digit return. So he can get bonus points if he gets attacking returns, and he can, of course, pick up defensive contribution points as well. So, of course, when those bigger teams like Arsenal play against Burnley, the chances of defensive contributions is a bit lower compared to when we have more equal teams playing against each other. Is he a good captain option? not really sure, to be honest. I wouldn't necessarily captain Gabriel this game week. So if you have Saka, if you have Erling Haaland, if you have, let's say, Foltmade, I would rather go for them as my captain in game week 10. Playable since the wildcard, every week I've had 60 plus points. So Playable, he got 109 points in game week 8. Played his wildcard in game week 4. He's gone from a 10 million rank to 200k since game week 4. And this is actually a really, really great achievement. I captained Bruno over Haaland in game week 5, where he scored against Chelsea, and last week against Brighton, who got 4 and Haaland blanked. Nice. So I really like when punts like this pay off. Bruno Fernandes, how many points did he get in game week 9? Can't really remember. Did he pick up any attacking returns in game week 9? I haven't really checked. I had Mbumo in this game. Remember him getting 15 points, but haven't really checked the score. So let me know in the chat, how many points did actually Bruno Fernandes pick up in game week 9? Defcon, so 2 plus points, so 4 points. Yeah. Double amount of the points from Erling Haaland. So considering that Erling Haaland was the most captain player, this really actually, even though 4 points is not much, it has to be considered as a success, I guess. I thought about captaining Gabriel as well this week, but if they concede a lucky goal, I'm doomed. Also triple Arsenal defense. I think having triple Arsenal defense is enough. At least this is my opinion. Of course, having a triple Arsenal defense and Gabriel as your captain, if they keep a clean sheet against Burnley. And this, let's take a look. I have this in the graphics as well. Arsenal, they are actually the bookies' favorites. We consider clean sheet. So Arsenal against Burnley, 54% chance of an Arsenal clean sheet. The next team is actually Fulham at home against Wolves, 42. So a 12 percentage gap between the top team Arsenal to the next team Fulham at home against Wolves. Haaland, he is the bookies' favorite. Gyökeres is second. Is actually equal with Alexander Isak. Both of them have the same percentage. So Arsenal, the bookies' favorites. Fulham, they are next, while Man City at home against Bournemouth, they are actually one of the favorites to keep a clean sheet in game week 10. A bit surprising considering that Bournemouth, they have actually been really solid when we consider their attacking assets so far this season. I was 50-50 between captaining Mbumo and Bruno. Chose Bruno because of the penalties. Yeah, I would have done the same, to be honest. I actually was really close to captain Mbumo myself. Talked about this in the team selection video. One of the reasons why I went for Erling Haaland was the fact that he is on penalties for Man City, while Mbumo is not the first choice penalty taker for Man United. So kind of regret this decision, of course, but it is what it is. Which of the upcoming game weeks do you think one should bench boost and triple captain? Also, the recommended players to have for these chips. If you still have your bench boost and triple captain, I would definitely wait until game week 13. We will get more information about the potential blanks and doubles. I will post a video later, probably tomorrow, about the updated information about the possible blanks and doubles. So one of the reasons why we might get a double game week is because of the EFL Cup. So hold your chips. If you don't get any double game weeks, so we might get a blank in game week 16, and we might get a double game week in. I'm sorry, we might get a blank in game week 17 and a double game week in game week 16, and this would be a good picture to bench boost, or at least to triple captain an Arsenal player. So Arsenal, they will potentially play against Everton and Crystal Palace in game week 16. So yeah, hold your chips, wait until game week 13. So there are some rumors that we might get information about a potential double game week ahead of game week 13. So if we don't get the double game week, I think game week 15 is a really good game week for a bench boost. A lot of the best FPL teams with the best FPL assets have good fixtures in game week 15. So bench boost in game week 15, probably triple captain Erling Haaland in one of the better Man City fixtures. Let's have a quick look. So let me just show you the fixtures in game week 15. This is Saturday, the 6th of December. So this is the game week 15 fixtures. Let's start at the bottom. There are a lot of interesting fixtures in game week 15. So Man United, they play against Wolves. So players like Mbumo, Bruno Fernandes, possibly also a Man United defender could be interesting. Crystal Palace, they play against Fulham. Crystal Palace, they have a lot of good value FPL assets at the moment. Sarr, Mateta, Munoz, even Guehi, Lacroix, Richards. So a lot of interesting FPL options from Crystal Palace, and they have a decent fixture in game week 15. Brighton against West Ham. We have Liverpool playing against Leeds, Spurs at home against Brentford, Newcastle at home against Burnley. So Man City playing at home against Sunderland. I know Sunderland, they have been pretty solid, but when they travel to the Etihad in December, they might pick up a couple of injuries. So teams like Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley, they are really prone to injuries to their key players. So this might be a really, really good fixture for Man City. So game week 15, a game week to target if you still have your free hit or bench boost. But as mentioned, there might potentially be a double game week in game week 16. So hold your chips for a couple of more game weeks. As mentioned, I will post a video tomorrow where I will research all the information about the potential blanks and doubles in game week 16 and game week 17. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video. I'll wait for free hits for a potential blank, right? Yeah, definitely. Game week 17 might actually be a blank game week, so if you still have your free hit, just save your chips. The rumor is that we will get more information ahead of game week, at least ahead of game week 13, so there will still be time to play your remaining chips if we get the confirmation that we will not have any blanks or doubles. The thing is that if we don't get any blanks and doubles, Crystal Palace, they will have to play every other day. 4 games in 8 days. Is this possible? I'm not sure. I think it's 50-50 if we'll get blanks and doubles or not. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture of your team selection. On the screen at the moment, game week 15 fixtures. So if you don't get any blanks or doubles in game week 16 and 17, I think game week 15 is a really interesting game week to target considering the remaining chips. So if I had my free hit, game week 15 would be the game week to target if I have my bench boost as well. Potentially this could be a good game week for Erling Haaland triple captain if this is your only remaining chip. We consider the triple captain, there might be other opportunities as well. Game week 11, tough fixture for Man City. Game week 12, tough fixture for Man City. Game week 13, at home against Leeds. This could potentially be a triple captain game week if you want to play it on Erling Haaland. Game week 14, decent fixture away against Fulham. Good fixture in game week 15. So there are still a lot of good opportunities to play the triple captain in game week 16. I would try to avoid playing the triple captain Man City away against Crystal Palace, but as mentioned, there are still a lot of good game weeks for the triple captain as well. Man City against Leeds. This is game week 13. I think this actually is a decent fixture for using the triple captain. I talked about this. I know that Leeds, they have done pretty well defensively, but when they have to travel to the Etihad, the fixtures will get a bit more congested. They don't have the same squads as the bigger teams. I think that the newly promoted sides like Leeds and Sunderland, I think they will struggle going forward. So I know about the Leeds and Sunderland heroics. They kept a couple of clean sheets recently, but I think that this fixture is a good one for Man City. Just realized I have been showing you nothing, so this is the fixtures in game week 13. Man City against Leeds. Potentially a good game week for the triple captain if you still have it. Playable, so I bought Semenyo at 7.2 and now he's gone up to 8.1. If I sell him for AFCON, I get 7.7. Should I keep and wait for him to come back instead of losing 0.4? Yeah, his price will drop a bit during AFCON. I can't really see players holding him. He might potentially be out for 5 game weeks, so ahead of AFCON, I think that Semenyo's price will drop. It will definitely not go back down to 7 million as we saw ahead of game week 1, but yeah. So let's have a look. I actually forgotten about the captain poll. At the moment, Erling Haaland still the favorite. Saka 15%, Mbumo, Bruno only 4%. I think this was a bit higher yesterday when I had my Q&A. Other 12%. Erling Haaland 69% have voted for Erling Haaland. So most of the players in the poll seems to agree with me. Erling Haaland, he will most probably be my captain in game week 10. Anyways, goodbye, brother. Have a good game week. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for interesting FPL discussion. Hopefully you will get a green arrow in game week 10 as well, and hopefully you'll have a nice weekend. Best of luck. It's 41 minutes left until the deadline. Let's have a look over at X to see if there are any early team news or rumors. We haven't really had much of this in the last couple of months. New post from the official Fantasy Premier League. 1 hour to go. All right. FPL GOAT. The best 3 forwards to own in FPL currently: Mateta, João Pedro, and Erling Haaland. I'm not sure if João Pedro should be in this front 3. I think at least for game week 10 I would go for someone like Foltmother, but of course really good fixtures for Chelsea in game week 11 and game week 12. FPL mate, is this the best possible attack right now? Probably close to the best attack. I would like to have Mbumo, to be honest. So FPL mate, this is really close to what I put together as my game week 11 wildcard draft, and this video will be out tomorrow, so if you're interested, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that one. A lot of FPL managers locking in their teams on X. Last minute FPL tips from Finnish FPL Magpie. Last minute tips: play Semenyo, Haaland cap is overrated, Triple Palace is too much, Salah captain is an option if you own him, Gordon, Sar best midfield options to buy, and Strand Larsen, Thiago are decent picks still. Have a good week. Nice. I don't really agree with all of those tips, but yeah. Gianni Batista, I'm excited to buy 6.2 Liam Delap next week. If he gets good minutes versus Karabag, he's likely in. Interesting. I talked about this a couple of times already. Fixtures look really good for Chelsea, especially in game week 11 and game week 12. This is one of the reasons why I'm actually keeping João Pedro at the moment. So not much news from FPLX at the moment. We haven't really had that many team league stuff like that in the last months. Didn't really have that many in the game in the 24-25 season either. So I think FPL deciding to move the deadline to 90 minutes ahead of the first game, I think this actually was a good decision. If Mateta scored a hat-trick against Bournemouth, I think Haaland can potentially get one, especially if Cherky is playing. AFCON players might be a risk, definitely agree. I will make a video on the players that potentially will travel and be gone in AFCON, and we'll try to figure out for how long they will be out, stuff like that. So Mateta scored a hat-trick against Bournemouth. I think Haaland can potentially get one, especially if Cherky is playing. I totally agree. I think that the Bournemouth defense is a bit overrated. Let me just put some stats back on the screen. So I make, in my weekly team selection videos, I always take a look at the most interesting captain options, and I take a look at their opponent's stats. So while taking a look at Man City and Erling Haaland, I wasn't really impressed from what I saw, considering the defensive statistics for Bournemouth. They have kept one clean sheet, which is nice, but they have conceded 6 goals, 11 big chances, 23 shots on target, which is actually 18th worst in the league, only beaten by Burnley. And I think this, I can't really remember which other team. Burnley, probably Fulham. They have an expected goal conceded of 7.51, so only conceding 6 goals. They have been a bit lucky. I think that, as Khalid saying in the chat, I think Erling Haaland is probably the best option for game week 10. This is reflected in the poll as well. Erling Haaland at the moment is on 70%, 15 for Saka, 11 for other, and 4% have voted for Bruno Fernandes or Mbumo. Hello, thanks for joining in. Uvamar, hello, NGI to Mbumo, Richarlison to Krupi on 2 free transfers, okay? Or Dewsbury and Richarlison to King and Sesko. The thing is that I have a bit of a small problem with both of your options, to be honest. NGI to Mbumo. I like the Richarlison to Krupi downgrade to afford the upgrade from NGI to Mbumo, but I think that NGI is still a decent option on penalties for Everton, and especially in game week 8 and game week 9, NGI, he has actually looked really, really good. He can pick up defensive contribution points as well, so at the moment, at that price, 6.5, I think NGI is a good FPL asset. Dewsbury Hall and Richarlison to King and Sesko. I like the downgrade to have more funds in your starting 11 by getting in Josh King. Sesko, is he really that nailed on? Will he continue playing every game? I can see Cunha playing as their number 9 as well, probably Mbumo as well. Mount, I think Amorim actually likes Mount, and I think that at some point Sesko might get rested, so I think both options are small upgrades, but I think there are some slight issues with both of your options, to be honest. I think it's really hard to decide between them, but getting in Mbumo is probably the one I prefer, but as mentioned, selling NGI, I'm not really sure. So my team is Verbruggen, Rodon, Van de Ven, Timber, NGI, Salah, Enzo Fernandes, Bruno Fernandes, Dewsbury Hall, Richarlison, Haaland, and Dubravka. Diouf, Guhi, Esteve with 2 free transfers and 0.7. in the bank. Let's see what we can do. Seeing that you already have Guhi, I don't think that getting in Josh King is a good option for your team at the moment. You already have a 4.5 fodder, so actually he's 4.3, but Richarlison, he is definitely a player I would sell. But who to bring in? Richarlison. I think this is what's kind of hard with those Salah and Haaland teams. It's hard to get enough funds for the rest of the team, but Richarlison, I would just keep Salah at the moment, to be honest, because Liverpool, they have good fixtures coming up. He scored last game week, and we know that he potentially can haul in any fixture, so Richarlison to someone like Thiago, Welbeck. You can't afford Mateta, right? So with this team, I would just save my other transfer. I would potentially just use one free transfer on selling Richarlison. Mateta, he would be my preferred option, but you probably can't afford Mateta, so it's between Welbeck, Strand Larsen from Wolves, and as mentioned, the Brentford forward Thiago. Would you mind doing the score predictor for each match on the FPL app? I haven't really done the score predictor for each match on the FPL app. I'll give it a go. Give me a minute. Thanks for last week's tips. I did Nico Williams to Timber and Foden to Enzo last game week. So a bit unlucky, of course, with Enzo, but at least you have Enzo this game week. And I talked about this a couple of times. I think I said this 5 times already, but Chelsea, they have really, really good fixtures in game week 11 and game week 12. So Enzo Fernandez, really, really good FPL option at the moment. Jack, do you not think Haaland captain is overrated? Even Wolves scored 2 against Burnley. I definitely think that Arsenal have the best fixture. If I had Saka, he would probably be my captain. I really like taking a captain punt. So if I owned Saka, the first choice penalty taker for Arsenal, he would potentially be my captain. I have Gyökeres, but I don't really trust Gyökeres. He hasn't really looked that great. He will stay in my team, but I don't really trust Gyökeres with the captaincy, and this is one of the reasons why Erling Haaland will be my captain. Keep Jared Bowen and Kudus, or sell to Mateta and Sar, or Jared Bowen, Kudus, King to Krupi Jr. and Bumo and Caicedo for a -4. Let's see, Bowen, Kudus and King. I wouldn't take the -4. I would be really tempted to at least sell Jared Bowen to Mateta. Yeah. Seeing that 3 transfers is for a -4, this means you already have 2 free transfers. I would potentially... It kind of depends if you have a Chelsea defender. Kudus is not a good option for you this game week, so potentially selling Kudus if you have a Chelsea defender. But if you don't have any Chelsea defenders, I would just do Jared Bowen to Mateta this game week. So you're selling a player out of form. The team is not looking good at the moment. West Ham, they have really struggled, especially in the last couple of game weeks, and you're bringing in an in-form player. Mateta actually has better attacking stats compared to Erling Haaland. He has something like 4.45, 5.45 expected goal involvement. So top of the league for attacking stats. He's a 90 minutes man on penalties. I said so many good things about Mateta. I think it's actually strange that I haven't brought him in myself. But I would avoid the hit. I wouldn't necessarily use both free transfers for the sake of it. It can be really valuable having 2 free transfers heading into game week 11 as well. So yeah, I would at least bring in one of the Crystal Palace players this game week. Yeah, I have been on Haaland and Salah since game week 1. There were a lot of talk about having both Haaland and Salah in preseason ahead of game week 1. Both of them had really high ownership. I think that Mo Salah at some point, did he reach 60%? At the moment, Erling Haaland, he is the most expensive and the most selected player, of course. But he's done really well so far. But the fixtures turn. There will be tougher games for Man City coming up. So if I were to use my wildcard, I would potentially still just keep Erling Haaland, considering his form. He scored in 12 games back to back, but if you're really struggling, I think taking a punt on going for Mo Salah instead of Erling Haaland actually is an option going forward. Liverpool, one of the teams with the best fixtures coming up, while Man City, on the other hand, actually have some tough fixtures. But in my point with showing this graphic is that in game week 10, I think that the fixture is kind of underrated for Man City. Actually, they play at home against Bournemouth. So Bournemouth, they have impressed so far this season, but when you consider Bournemouth defensive stats from the last 4 game weeks, they haven't really done that well. So Erling Haaland, probably my game week 10 captain. He is the favorite in the captain poll, 70%, 17 for Saka, 10% for other, 3% for Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. Let's get my team back on the screen. I have actually made a transfer. I don't have any more free transfers, so if I decide to do the Joao Pedro move, I will have to take a hit. Let's get this away. Only 25 minutes until the deadline. It's time to start locking in our teams. 25 minutes left. I'm really close to being locked in with this team. Sanchez in goal, De Ligt and Mbeumo double up, Munoz, Sarr double up, Timber, Gyökeres double up, Sanchez, Joao Pedro, and I have Erling Haaland and Jai and Paqueta benching both of my Spurs assets, and I sold Joao Pedro to Munoz yesterday. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, there's still time. If you post a picture under my latest post on X, I can get your team up on the screen. So head over to X, find this post about the Game Week 10 deadline stream and post a picture under it in the comments. And if you haven't done so already, please consider joining my live, the TFS Live Mini League. It would be really fun if we get even more entries into that league. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please consider giving this stream a like. It will help with the reach to bring even more people in. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. I do deadline streams like this, and I do weekly Q&As. Usually the night before the deadline on Friday night, I have a friendly FPL chat ahead of the next game week. I post weekly team selection videos as well with the captain selection, watch list, potential transfers, stuff like that. And I also post a video about what I believe is the best free hit and wildcard team ahead of the next game week. So if you're interested, subscribe. I haven't really checked, but I have gone past 3,000 subscribers. This is great. I actually have 3,108 subscribers. This is a really, really good number. So thanks everyone for subscribing to the channel. Of course, thanks for joining in as well. Thanks for posting your questions. 22 minutes left until the deadline. Mbeumo, the most transferred in player, 1.5 million transfers in for Mbeumo. Mateta, Voltmade, both really popular options. On the behalf of Joao Pedro, he is the most sold player, so a lot of FPL managers have gone from Joao Pedro to Foltmale and Mateta ahead of this game week. Reinders heavily sold, Mo Salah as well. I don't really think that this is the right time to sell Mo Salah, to be honest, but of course he's still the second most expensive player in the game, so he hasn't really delivered considering points per million. I feel stuck with my team. 21 minutes left, FPL Lisa, to make the decision about your team. I haven't really found the time to watch your team selection video this game week. I'm really sorry. I will rewatch it to give myself an update. FPL Lisa posting really informative and good FPL videos as well. So if you're interested, check that channel out as well. We usually tend to agree about a lot of players, but ahead of game week 6 or game week 5, I actually advised FPL Lisa to bring in Richarlison, and this has been a disaster. He hasn't really scored since you brought him in, I don't think. He has been benched a couple of times as well, and at this point, Kolumani, he is back from injury with Solanke soon ready to go as well. So Richarlison not a really good option at the moment. I was really close to bringing in Gabriel ahead of game week. I think it was game week 7 or game week 8. FPL Lisa, she convinced me to go for Timber instead. This has been not that much, but a small point swing between Timber and Gabriel the last couple of game weeks. Of course, only friendly banter. I always give that advice. I think it's the best advice, never trying to trick anyone. So I didn't even make a transfer this game week. Well, good thing about not making a transfer is that you'll have an extra transfer next game week. The Infernal Avenger currently starting Kudus, Van de Ven and Enzo with Joao Pedro first bench. So you're going for a different lineup compared to me this game week. I'm playing Joao Pedro, benching Van de Ven. I actually sold Pedro Porro and I'm benching Kudus. I think that Chelsea will do well against Spurs. At least I'm hoping that Chelsea can win this fixture. I have Sanchez in goal as well. Let me just get this a bit smaller. So Sanchez is in my starting 11. Actually, I just have to start Sanchez. I don't really see Burnley and Dubravka keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal. I have Gyökeres as well, so I don't really want Burnley to keep a clean sheet. So double up on Chelsea for me this game week with Sanchez and Joao Pedro, with a double up on Spurs on the bench, Van de Ven and Kudus. I transferred out Richarlison last week and he got an assist. Yeah, that's really classic, isn't it? And I think, and I really hope that this is the game week where Joao Pedro delivers something, at least an assist like Richarlison did in game week 9. I haven't checked, but it's possibly a lot more since I made the graphics for this deadline stream. I made it this morning, so 1.4 million transfers out for Joao Pedro. It's probably a bit more. I haven't really checked the FPL site the last couple of hours, but Joao Pedro is possibly close to 1.6 million. Let's have a quick look. It would be kind of typical for Joao Pedro to deliver in game week 10 after being transferred out by so many. So it wasn't that much. 1,441,000 transfers out for Joao Pedro. That's quite a lot. It's second most transferred out player ahead of a game week so far this season, only beaten by Jack Grealish so far. I'm having to start sells. Not ideal. not ideal, especially if you have any attackers from Man United. But of course, Nottingham Forest, they haven't really looked that great recently. All of the 25-26 season altogether, to be honest. I started the season with Williams. He actually scored a goal, gave me like 15 points in a given game week, but other than this, he has been a terrible FPL asset for me. Same goes for Sells. I haven't really checked how many clean sheets have Nottingham Forest kept so far this season. It hasn't been that many. And Sells is not in the top point scorers for goalkeepers so far this season. I think he was at this point last season. Crystal Palace is Nottingham Forest started really well, had a dip in November, December, had a great start to the new year with their centre backs getting a lot of attacking returns as well. And Sells, when he picked up clean sheets last season, he usually got save points and bonus points as well. At the moment, the top point scorer is actually Roofs, the Sunderland goalkeeper. We have Raya second, Nick Pope on 46 points, the same as Raya. Pretty sure they haven't kept one, or maybe the first game when I didn't own him. Let's have a quick look. That's kind of interesting. So let's head over to the transfer page and check Sells. He has probably started all of the games so far. No clean sheets. They actually haven't kept any clean sheets. They won the first game against Brentford, but no clean sheets so far. So Sells so far this season, he picked up 2 points in game week 1, 2 points in game week 2, 2 points, 1 point, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2. He'll probably pick up, I'm really hoping that he will pick up 1 or 2 points in game week 10 as well, seeing that I have Mbumo in my starting 11. Wow, desperate to get rid, but goalkeeper transfer is never a priority. I agree. Kind of feels like a waste using a transfer on your goalkeeper. And this as well, I talked about Richarlison, of course, delivering while FPL Lisa just sold him. I feel like this has happened to me a couple of times during my FPL career as well, when we consider goalkeepers. So selling a goalkeeper ahead of a tough fixture, and in this given fixture, the goalkeeper finally does something. So boots on the table, what are your thoughts on Gabriel captain? I've actually talked about and discussed the Gabriel captaincy. I don't usually like captaining a defender because, of course, if they are unlucky conceding an early goal, this will ruin the whole match, especially if you're going to watch the game. But I don't really think that this applies for Gabriel at the moment. He can pick up defensive contributions. He can deliver attacking returns. And if he does, he will most probably be in the bonus as well. So I think that Gabriel captaincy for game week 10 actually is a decent shout. But however, with that said, I think there are better options. I still think that Erling Haaland is a really good captain option for game week 10. I think that the Bournemouth defense, their defense is a bit overrated. So I think that Man City will do well against Bournemouth in game week 10. Let's just put the Bournemouth defensive stats back on. So these are the defensive statistics for Bournemouth in the last 4 game weeks. They have kept 1 clean sheet, but they have conceded 6 goals, 11 big chances, 23 shots on target. They have an expected goal of 7.51. So I think that the fixture for Man City is good in game week 10. Erling Haaland, will he blank back-to-back? So the blank in game week 9, this was the first game in like 12 or 13 games where he failed to score. I'm really backing Erling Haaland to do well against Bournemouth, to be honest. So he will most probably be my captain. We take a look at the bookies anytime goal scorer odds as well. It's in the graphics, so you can see on the right hand side. I posted the top 3 clean sheets and the top 3 anytime goal scorer. Erling Haaland, he is the favorite, 56%. Gyökeres is second, and Alexander Isak, he is on 45% as well. Start Van de Ven ahead of Semenyo. I would go Semenyo, I think, even though the fixture is tough playing against Man City. Semenyo is nailed on to start on some set pieces, including penalties. It's not like Man City have been really solid defensively. They're not comparable to the defensive stats like we can compare them to Arsenal. Van de Ven definitely one to bench if it's between Semenyo and Van de Ven, especially if you have any attacking Chelsea assets. Then starting Semenyo is a no-brainer. Okay, thanks. I think I'm risking it. Fair enough. I think that actually game week 10 as well is a good game week to take a punt on the captaincy. I talked about the fixture for Man City. I think it's a good one playing against Bournemouth. So there is a risk involved. Of course, Erling Haaland, he will be the most captained player in game week 10 as well. So, but we saw this in game week 9. Going against the most selected player can easily be beneficial as well. So yeah, go for it if you want. What about Mbeumo captain? I have been considering Mbeumo captaincy as well. Remember, I did this ahead of game week 9 as well. I was really close to go Mbeumo ahead of Erling Haaland, but the thing is that if Mbeumo were the first choice penalty taker for Man United, I would most probably go for Mbeumo, but we know that Bruno Fernandes will take the penalties for Man United. We know Erling Haaland will take the penalties for Man City, so this is the reason why I think I'll just go for Erling Haaland. I actually had a terrible game week 1. I talked about this a couple of times on earlier streams as well. I actually took a punt in game week 1, captaining Jared Bowen against Sunderland. So this fixture looked really good on paper for West Ham starting the season against newly promoted Sunderland. But Sunderland, they actually won this game. I think it was 2-0, was it? Can't really remember the result, but at least Jared Bowen, he blanked. It's only 7 minutes left until the deadline. I think I'll just keep Joao Pedro. Bench Van de Ven. I think for me and my team, it makes it a bit easier to actually bench Van de Ven. I have a good reason for benching Van de Ven with Joao Pedro in my team. I feel confident. I said this a couple of times. I have a double up on Man United with a good fixture against Nottingham Forest. I'm really hoping, as a Man United fan, that they will do well against Nottingham Forest. It's really, really exciting seeing Man United above Liverpool on the Premier League table at the moment. So hopefully this can last for another week. I have a double up on Munoz, Sar, double up on Crystal Palace. I have a double up on Arsenal as well with Timber and Gyökeres, and I have a double up with Sanchez and Joe Pedro. So a lot of double ups in my team. And in addition, I have Erling Haaland, I have Paqueta and NGI. I'm actually a bit excited for the Monday night fixture, Sunderland against Everton. I might actually consider doing a watch along. Last time I did a watch along, it was West Ham against Brentford. This was a terrible watch, to be honest, as a Paqueta owner. Who to bench from Sondrix? Who to bench between Joao Pedro, Semenyo, and Xhaka? Probably Xhaka. The thing is that I like Granit Xhaka as an FPL option. The thing is that it's mostly because of his price. It's not really explosive. He will not pick up many attacking returns, but he can potentially get 4 or 5 points if they keep a clean sheet. He can pick up defensive contributions. So at that price point, a decent option, but Joe Pedro and Semenyo, they are definitely far more explosive assets. So it would be a bit painful having Joe Pedro on your bench with points if you decided to start Granit Xhaka. Same goes for Semenyo as well. We know he will start for Bournemouth. He will play close to 90 minutes, and he is the first choice penalty taker at the moment. So start Pedro, start Semenyo. So if you have Granit Xhaka with like 6 points to 10 points on the bench, this is just a bonus, right? Frankie Golding, sorry, missed that one. Bench 1, Semenyo, Enzo Fernandez, NGI, Sar, Mateta, and Voltmada. Ooh, really strong team. That looks like the bench boost could be needed, but let's see. I think it's between Semenyo and NGI. It's between Semenyo and NGI. I think it kind of depends on your rank, overall rank, and your position in your mini leagues. So if you're satisfied with your rank at the moment, and if you're doing well in your mini leagues, I would definitely start Semenyo and bench NGI. However, if you feel like you need to take a couple of risks, if you're not satisfied with your rank, if you're not doing well in your mini leagues, I would take a punt, bench Semenyo, the most selected player, and take a punt on NGI for the Monday night fixture against Sunderland. Three minutes left. Make sure to confirm your transfers if you have anything planned. Be sure that you have the captaincy on the player that you want to captain. At the moment, I'm going Erling Haaland and Bumo Wise captain. There have actually been a couple of rumors that Erling Haaland would miss game week 10, but I think that he will be fit and start for Man City. I talked about this a couple of times. I think the fixture is actually pretty good for Man City, playing at home against Bournemouth. So my transfer this game week has been I've sold Pedro Porro to bring in Munoz. I was really close to bring in Gabriel instead. I had the exact funds for Pedro Porro to Gabriel, but I went for Munoz. So hopefully Munoz can outscore Gabriel in game week 10. At least this is what I'm hoping. I already have an asset from Arsenal's defense in Timber, and this is one of the reasons why I went for Munoz. So if I brought in Gabriel, this would mean that I was tripled up on Arsenal, but at the moment I have a double up on Crystal Palace and a double up on Arsenal, and it feels a bit more balanced. So this was the reasoning for me going for Munoz instead of Gabriel. Only 90 seconds left. Make sure to lock in your transfers as mentioned. Make sure to give this stream a like as well and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I will be logging off shortly after the deadline. If you haven't done so already, please join the TFS Live Mini League as well. The link is in the description down below. It would be quite funny if even more people joined that league. I haven't really checked how many entries the TFS Live League has at this point, but if you haven't joined, the link is in the description down below. 30 seconds. Erling Haaland, he is the winner of this stream's poll. The best Game Week 10 captain, Erling Haaland, Saka and Bumo, or any other options. Haaland, he ended on 70%, 71 actually. A couple of new votes in the dying seconds. 71% for Erling Haaland, Saka 13, and Bumo and Bruno Fernandes only 3%. That can't be many votes. And I know that we have discussed the Gabriel captaincy a couple of times in the chat so far, so probably a couple of Gabriel captainers this game week as well. The deadline is gone. Hopefully you will get a green arrow in game week 10, and hopefully you will have a nice weekend. I'm really excited for the games. Really excited. I have 6 players playing in the 15 kickoff. So best of luck for game week 10, and hopefully, as mentioned, you have a nice weekend. If you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. I post weekly team selection videos and wildcard free hit videos, and I do those streams as well. When I find the time, I have deadline streams like this, but I always have a Q&A the night before the deadline, usually on Friday night. So thanks for joining in. Best of luck for game week 10, and have a nice weekend.